Freedom to Love is about a young white plantation owner who falls in love with his childhood friend who happens to be his black slave.
And that is outrageous.
My oldest brother is actually gay. And and my oldest brother came out during the height of their super religious time.
There's a lot of white savior moments in there. I don't know if that was on purpose or...
Absolutely on purpose. White people in our country we have tons of conversations about race here, but we need to have more of them, and we need to have them between white people.
Jezebel. You little Jezebel.
I am.
Hi.
Admittedly.
Thank you so much for coming all the way to London.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Yes. Feels like my dream come true.
How long have we actually been planning this for?
Almost a year, I think.
Yeah,
a year.
It's quite a long time. You were a very early on, like, listener and supporter, and it was so cute. And actually, I think we've spoken a lot. It feels like we know each other.
Yeah.
But it's the first time actually like meeting. What do you think?
I think you two are just as amazing as I thought. More amazing. Maybe more amazing.
No, you're amazing. I love the outfit. I love the hair.
Yeah.
The jewellery. The rings are huge.
Yeah, the bling is blinging right now.
I thought I'd go conservative today, and then maybe tonight I'll turn it up just a notch.
What's a not conservative outfit?
A not conservative outfit?
Yeah.
I don't think I own anything that's like a dud.
Oh, really?
Because I figure, why, if you're going to do it, do it.
Yeah, you have to hold out.
That's how I feel,
Yeah.
And so I'd rather save my 2 pennies and save them up and buy something crazy than, spend it on some old drab crap that anybody could wear.
Yeah. Do you make any of your own clothes?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
The worst seamstress or whatever you want to call it in the world.
Okay.
So I have people who do it for me. But I draw very bad drawings. I put like little really bad like stick figure things, and then I draw around it and say, this is what I want. And then
make it happen.
Yeah, I'm clear with like the colors or the style, and then they make it happen for me, thankfully, because otherwise...
I love... How did you first get into drag then? Like, what was the first window into it?
So actually, it was not planned. I wrote a web series that I was going to direct called Jeza and the Bells. And I was so excited about it. It's about 3 drag queen superheroes. They're sisters, and they have to save the world because the world is in chaos. And it was when I wrote it, and it's even worse now.
How long ago was this?
I wrote it. It was about... I've been doing drag for, I think, 14 years now, 15 years. Yeah. 14 or 15 years ago.
Okay.
So I wrote this web series. I casted the first 2 sisters.
Oh.
And could not find anybody that we really liked to play Jeza. Because it was Jeza and the Bells.
Yeah.
And eventually I just said, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Even though I've never acted, I've never really done drag. I think I dressed up once on a New Year's and I was a mess. My lips were like across my face. It was bad. Right. And I said, well, I'm just going to try it. Why not? You know? And so I did it and had so much fun. And after that, I was really shocked. Like the web series got a fair amount of attention. But what was really weird was out of the blue, somebody from this side of the world, because I'm from New York City, somebody from Northern Ireland wrote me and said, oh my gosh, I love you. Can you write for our magazine?
Ooh.
And so I wrote for their magazine. And then after that, So Gay, which was a London blog or asked me to do my own column. And then after that, I started writing all over the place. And then my drag sort of like took off. And then I was performing and writing and doing all this stuff and voice.
Like Carrie Bradshaw.
I was just thinking that. Yeah. Oh my God.
York, writing a column.
Yeah.
Right. With a little Samantha underneath.
She's a mix.
Everyone loves a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I actually wrote it. Jeza and the Bells was supposed to be a great big statement about, it was a religious statement, and that's kind of how I got my name. Basically, Jezebel in the Bible is this awful woman, right? She's considered like the most evil. Now, the American kind of interpretation that I think has kind of spread around the world was like a Southern Jezebel, and she's like a harlot and a whore. Yeah. And I thought, well, that's perfect anyway. I'll go ahead. Well, that's me. Go ahead and take that name. And essentially what I was trying to show through these 3 drag queen sisters was that it is usually through the weakest that God kind of moves, because people really have a lot of bad things to say about drag queens and the gay community. And I was thinking, we're powerful, and why wouldn't God work through us and use us to do something great, like save the world? And that's sort of how it happened. So my whole drag has been very weirdly religious, based, which is kind
Right.
of strange,
Right.
especially because I have really bawdy blue humor and trash, and yet I'm quite religious at the same
Bonnie
time.
Blue humor.
Bawdy,
What's
like
that?
it means like basically, well, like trash, like sex
I'm
and
trash.
like it's like garbage. It's like very sex and like
Okay.
like, you know.
That's quite a nice like dichotomy though, like religious, you're like toying with it, you're
Yeah.
respecting it to an extent because you are religious,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, I am
Yeah.
religious, but I also think God has an amazing sense of humor.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, He would not have made us to laugh at like
Yeah.
And I like to drink, and I like to have sex. So why not roll it all up? Into
Yeah.
being.
Yeah, we were talking to my mum about it this morning, and we were saying like Jezebel because I think the first time that I heard it was maybe in a Lauryn Hill song,
Okay.
and maybe it was in that thing, and I was like, oh, who's Jezebel? And mum was like, oh, no, it's just another word for someone who's like,
Yeah.
sex. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And then she said, oh, it's So today I asked her again, and she said, "Oh, it basically is a woman who apparently was trying to entice someone on a roof or something."
Yeah, and she was, I think she fell off. I think she was Ahab's wife, if I'm not mistaken, and she was eaten by dogs.
Yeah,
That's really how it ends up. So I'm not planning on having that fate.
Please don't make that my ending.
Right, unless there's like some gorgeous, some gorgeous man who's a dog. Other than that,
Well, gorgeous
no,
man that
thank
saves you.
Yes, exactly. He can catch me when I fall.
So how was your upbringing then? Is your whole family quite Christian or?
I had a very strange upbringing because we were actually Jewish.
Okay.
And my mother converted to Christianity when I was young, and she converted hard.
Oh, okay.
And so we joined an evangelical church, which is very conservative. And we were sort of not conservative, but conservative at the same time.
Right.
So we would go to this super conservative church, but the rest of my family was like, what the hell is this? Right.
Right.
They thought my mother was crazy, and they thought she was nuts, like bringing us into this world. But we lived that, but we also lived a very secular life at the same time. So I think it was kind of balanced in a way. And then when I grew up, I actually went to a conservative Christian college. And that was quite interesting.
Is this all in New York, sorry? Or?
No, I went to one in Arkansas.
Oh, I've only heard of that in the song. Alabama, Arkansas. Yeah. What's that like?
Arkansas was bananas compared to New York. Yeah. When I left, my mother said to me, whatever you do, never tell anybody you're Jewish. Oh. And I said, why? Like, well, we were Jewish Christians, but why would you ever? It was a different viewpoint for me. But when I got there, the first thing that they did to welcome students was burn a cross. Right, which is a horrible symbol in the United States and the South. It's really like a very racist symbol.
Well, what does it mean?
Burn a cross. It's associated with the Klan, the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh, okay.
And so they were like doing it for some religious reason. And I was so shocked by it that I was just new to the school, and I started a campaign and was such a pain in the ass that they never burned another cross after that.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I was actually quite a quiet person up to that point, but I thought,
it brought something out.
Yeah. I just thought, oh my gosh, how welcoming, and probably was the only Jew there, but for the black people there, I'm like, what is this? How this is supposed to be welcoming? I don't think so. I don't think I've ever told anybody this story. Come to think of it,
really?
Yeah, but I don't think I have. And then I thought, oh, my mother was right. Tell them,
Yeah. Maybe not.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up as like Jewish and Christian, or did the Jewish side like subside once Christianity took over? Like, how was that?
So what? My father was not Jewish, and when my father married my mother, I'm the last of the children.
Okay.
When he married my mother, his family disowned him because she was Jewish, and they wrote him. He's German, and so they wrote him out of the will. They had got written out of everything. So we didn't really know that side of the family growing up, but we knew my mother's family, which was Jewish. So culturally, we grew up very, very Jewish.
Okay.
Religiously, like I said, my mother joined the church, and my family thought she was the nutsiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And my family, to this day, they all call it the cult.
Right.
Join the cult. And it was an evangelical church. It's just what evangelicals do. They were super duper crazy conservative.
Well, tell me what that meant for you then. Like, what did you do?
Like, what was it like?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, you couldn't really do anything. No music. You're not allowed to have music. When you're worshiping at this particular type of church. Certainly, you're never drinking. all this stuff is so antithesis, really, obviously now to kind of who I am. But yeah, boys and girls can't be together, and certainly not boys and boys.
Yeah.
You can't even swim. Like, I don't even think you're allowed to swim like in the same.
Oh, it's
Oh,
pretty
Like, it was
strict.
that ridiculous. But all of these things are building blocks in life that you learn from, and I took a lot from it because I, in a lot of ways, developed a very close personal relationship with God and found that it wasn't dependent on all these crazy people and their beliefs, because just because they believed it and were so emphatic about it didn't actually make it right or sit for me. And so, long story short, my relationship with God, if we're going to go there, is quite transcendent of all that because it's rooted in my personal relationship with God, and he's got me. And it goes over and covers over all this nonsense that people fight about and say horrible things to each other in the name of God. And 99.999% of the time, it has absolutely nothing to do with God. It's people.
100% agree with that. I was just going to say that how did you balance religion with sexuality growing up? Because they're quite conflicting things within you.
I actually really struggled, and I kept thinking, God, please take this from me, right? And then I thought of there was Paul in the Bible, and he had a thorn in his side. And some people surmise that maybe Paul was homosexual, and God didn't remove the thorn and said, my grace is enough to cover you, right? And for me, after I left that school, and I stopped going to church for a while and really just kind of focused on my own personal relationship, and I thought, my relationship, God created me. You know what I mean? He created me and he made me awesome, and God really doesn't make mistakes. And, I'm not in a box because other people say I'm in a box. And I've done a lot of study. Like, I've read that Bible 8,000 gazillion times, more than probably most college professors when it comes to biblical studies. And what I really find in the arc of the story is that very little has to do anything with sexuality in the way that we think of it.
Right.
The ancient world, I don't think they'd even comprehend what we're talking about to some degree. And I don't really get the sense that it was that big of a deal. Jesus never spoke about it. The passages that do speak about it, look at us going all religious here, aren't really about what we think they're about in a modern context.
Yeah.
But what does that
course.
I would love to know about
Is it like
this.
man may not lay with man and that kind of
Yeah,
thing?
is it that?
Yeah,
kind of passage?
but if
it
you
changed.
Right. So if you look at Levitical law, which is what it was, like you shouldn't sleep with another man, it's an abomination. We can get to that at some point.
Yeah.
My new book, hint, hint.
We will get to that.
It was really about the fact that the quote unquote Gentiles, the people that they were moving into the area where they lived, had sex with each other as part of worship to their deities. And so it's like, you don't do that because that's a worship to a deity. But it didn't really have anything to do with like loving somebody and having sex. It meant more, don't like get fucked in front of the Asheroth pole or whatever they called it,
Yeah.
That's really what it came down to. And so mankind latches on to things to separate and make us feel like crap about each other, right? So, but I don't think God really doesn't do that. There's some elements of that. Don't get me wrong. When you read the Bible, you see that there's some elements of that, but it's not in the way that we kind of think.
Yeah, that's true. I think a lot of religions are interpreted by man, and so it kind of takes the spirituality out of it a little bit. I think, which is a shame, because a lot of real religious people, they come, and the religion is their religion, the way they have a relationship with, they have more peace with life, and they seem to really be able to be more compassionate. And I think there is something powerful about religious spirituality, but the way it's interpreted causes all this trouble and all these different conflicts. And
I agree. I always tell people when they ask me, you can't really judge God based on other people, right? You go to a church and they're people. They're going to be a lot of jerks. They're going to be nice people, right? That's just reality. No matter where you go. Go to an office, you have the same thing.
Yeah.
But people are people. They're not God. They're not.
Yeah, they don't know.
Yeah.
So how was it coming out to your mum and your dad? Was your dad around, did you say?
Yes. Yeah. My parents have been married 8,000 years. They're still together now. My oldest brother's actually gay. And and my oldest brother came out during the height of their super religious time.
Oh, wow.
And I can remember as a child, my brother bringing a box of stuff, like he was basically kicked out, and he was moving stuff to a car.
Oh.
and my mother was bringing boxes back in, but my father wanted him to go. Right. And so, I'm very thankful because I had somebody who kind of broke down walls for me, but it still wasn't easy. Because of the religious thing, my mother would say to me, "Oh, if you were gay, I would know it. You really aren't,
Yeah.
It took a long time, but
you're just gentle, or you were just
yeah, exactly. But as they got older, both of them, my mother, years later, she, bless her heart, she had brain surgery now, and she's just not the same person. But before she had the brain surgery, she would say, if I could go back and do things different with your brother, with you, I would, just be whoever you are from the get-go. What I love, I have the most wonderful partner in the world. I really do. The best guy. And she said to me, wow, if you really had to be with anybody, I'm glad you're with him. You really found the perfect person. And I did.
Oh, I love that. That is so cute. And if we're allowed to mention,
yes,
he is lovely.
That's
all I'm going to say.
No, he is the best. And
really
usually I say the people knock me out of the way to get to him. And I'm like, knocked off to
people
the
do that to me. They're like, Josh is nice. Let's speak to Josh.
That's a good sign.
Yeah,
that's always a good sign.
Well, but the opposite way, maybe not, though. People don't knock him out of the way to speak to me.
Yeah, they do.
Well, I knock him out of the way. I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm like, you got enough attention.
I'm the star.
Exactly.
My time to shine.
Yes.
So
all the time.
Your coming out was kind of like difficult, would you say? And then it kind of eased up, or was it just quite all right?
I think it was more difficult for me to really just find that place where I really said to myself, I'm good, right? It's okay who I am. I should really embrace who I am. And that kind of transformed me. I didn't do it till later. I came out at like 30. I'm kind of dating myself now, letting you know that I am old. I came out probably around 30, 31 or something like that.
Did you not date men before?
No, I actually was engaged to women twice because of when I went to the religious school, because that's what people did. You had to do that. It was like like a marriage factory, and I was just miserable.
How did you stop those relationships then?
Well, the first one was wackadoodle. She was totally crazy, so it was great. It was like an easy out.
Yeah.
And the problem was for me that she wanted to have sex all the time, even though it was a school where nobody had sex, you would be kicked out. But she was like all over me constantly, and I thought to myself, "Oh my gosh, how the hell do I get out of this?"
Yeah,
And the other one, she was sweet as pie. She was really nice. It just was like it wasn't happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I felt, you just can't live that life like that. You can't do that to somebody. And then you have children. And I understand, listen, it happens all the time. I can't tell you how many married people, come up to me all the time. And of course, that's a natural thing. It happens every day. I'm not judging anybody. But for me personally, I just felt I knew I'd be trapped in a lie. And there's one time around this planet that I know of, and I just didn't want to do that, And when I found that freedom, I really found like a sense of peace and joy. And again, I'm just going to say it. I know it's weird. People always say to me, like, a friggin' drag queen that's totally like religious. This is so weird. So you'd think it would be all like drunk, and I am all those things, right? I really am. But my being, who I really am at my center, really is a spiritual being. And finding that being anchored in that relationship drives everything in my life. So whether I'm cussing, like a sailor, whether I'm getting drunk, whether I'm on stage, whatever I do, it really is governed by the love that's in my heart because of the religion that I believe in and my relationship with God. So
it really shines through. It really shines through in your character. Like
your energy.
Like the times we've spoken, and even your openness. And obviously we'll get onto it because you're an author, and we're going to talk about your books. But even the openness of talking about those things, and because they tackle quite difficult topics, is really so refreshing. And kind of you encompass what I wish a little bit what the LGBTQ plus community in general would encompass, which is actual kindness, open-mindedness, being okay with being wrong sometimes, being okay with being whatever. I think that really shows. So it's
because sometimes the community like to pride ourselves on being open and inclusive, to be able to sit down and talk to each other. But quite often it's the opposite. We're stuck in our views, and if someone doesn't agree with it, it's
canceled.
Exactly.
No, we're very, very tough on each other, and we really, really are. We're harsh.
Yeah.
It can be quite harsh. We're harsh about looks.
Yes.
We're harsh about the way people do things. We don't have a lot of grace for other people, which is pretty funny because we want a lot of grace from other people, but we don't give it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of walk with these two things in mind. Grace is like a really big word in my life. And I really do split it in two. Have a lot of grace for myself. Taken me a long time to say, oh my gosh, I make a lot of mistakes and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Learn along the way, right?
Same.
Doesn't mean, go out and try to do a mistake, but it means you learn. You're a human being.
Yeah.
Try to do better. And then a lot of grace for others. I don't cut people off at the knees. I try not to, because even the worst person, people can change. I believe, if they have the right attitude and, find something in themselves. And my belief system, again, it believes I'm not perfect. And somebody accepted me with my imperfections and loved me regardless. And that's how I should be for other people. And I try. I'm not perfect, believe me, by any stretch.
Yeah.
But those are the two things I really stand on right now. Grace is like huge in my life at this moment.
That's so funny you said that, because I recently was saying about grace, right? Giving people grace and like trying not to just jump to conclusions. And it's interesting because we also always talk about the fact that sometimes extreme either sides don't work. So extreme liberalism sometimes doesn't provide the openness and the conversations that need to be had, and extreme, conservatism obviously doesn't either. So fluidity is important, and I think
of both.
Yeah. What's your relationship been like with the community, being a drag queen, being religious, and like other things that might affect it with your dating life?
Sure. Well, I would say what was really interesting, I'm kind of hopping because I'm going to my book, is that one of my books is a religious book. And what was fascinating was it got a lot of attention from other places and some trepidation from LGBTQ IA+, because now I use them all, media.
So this is the book you're talking about?
Yes.
Yes.
My super duper, highly controversial Jeza's Jesus Juice, a drag queen's Christian devotional. I'm the first and only drag queen anywhere in the world to have written a traditionally published Christian book anywhere. The spinning orb.
Oh, well done. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so it, really had quite an interesting reception. In our community, a lot of people were afraid, I believe, or don't think it's sexy enough to talk about. Yet, what's bonkers is whenever I go to book fairs, wherever I'm selling this book, it sells out so quick your head would spin. Like every single place I go. And it surprises me every time, because I'm thinking, I don't know. When I wrote it, I said, I don't know if anybody's going to. One person reads this book, it did what it needed to do.
Yeah.
They wipe my table off of them. The other authors are always like, oh my gosh. So the community didn't really cover it. Now, outside of the LGBT community, I got tons of news coverage. But when I go to sell, our queer community, they love that book. I mean,
but they don't cover it. Is that what you?
No, it didn't get a lot of queer coverage, but it got a lot of other coverage. The other books I can get some.
Or was it unwanted coverage, or was that good coverage when you say other coverage?
Yeah.
It was a mix, but I got quite a lot of hot coverage.
Okay.
It was found somewhere by somebody on a super duper conservative website, and then it took off in conservative news.
Right.
And as a result of that, I got a lot of death threats, and I still do. It's been out for about a year and a half, and it comes in waves, but tons and tons of negative publicity. But
how do you deal with that? How do you deal with like death threats and stuff? Like, what do you?
You know what? I actually really take it in stride, because if people are that passionately opposed to it, it lets me know I really needed to write this book.
Yeah.
And so, and I've had a lot of people tell me how this book has really touched and in some ways changed people's lives. And so I'll take a death threat to that. There is nothing in this world anybody can do to me. There really isn't. What are they going to do to me? What's the worst thing that happens? Something happens to me. In my belief, I'm going to go on forever anyway. So it's fine. They can't touch me. And I wrote the book because I wanted to provide cover for people who actually wanted to learn a little bit about this, but did not feel safe in churches. And in America, church right now is very connected to political views, and that makes it quite unwelcoming. And so this book was really to provide cover for people who felt weak in a way and wanted to learn but didn't know where to go. And so it's okay if people death threat me, because it did the job that it needed to do.
And what is if you were going to do like an elevator pitch of what the book's about, how would you describe it?
Sure. Well, talk about the cover. It really is a devotional book. So I wrote it kind of sassy. Usually
Love
I
that.
start each chapter with a Bible quote and then I give some sort of interpretation of it. I'm a bit of a biblical scholar, which surprises people. I actually was a Bible major, and I was offered a full scholarship to get a Master's of Divinity to be a minister. And
Oh,
so
okay.
I wanted to be a preacher in many ways in my life, but I thought I actually say this somewhere in the book, I think, or somewhere, that I wanted to be a minister and who would listen to, like, I'm a flaming gay man. So I said, who's going to listen to that? I'll be a drag queen. That's the next best thing. Right. And in a way, I've become a sort of minister, which is just strange. So I start off with a Bible quote. I kind of break it down. I tell some personal stories. Some are funny, some are deep, some are sad. Then it ends with a prayer. And these are all topic-based chapters. And then there's a few questions to reflect on in case people want to kind of develop their own relationship and don't really know how to start.
Yeah.
And that's it. Jeza's Jesus Juice. I'm actually working on a second book because this one did so well.
Yeah, I really like the way it's structured. I like the fact that you do like a quote from the Bible, and I like the way it gives you a chance to reflect. Because sometimes when you're reading it, like, not all of us are gonna have the same experience, even if we are all part of the community. So I think it's quite nice to see a different perspective, and it's like your story. And I think that's what the reason why I like this book. And I'm quite surprised that, from my perspective, that this is the one that got so much controversy because it's talking about your own experience.
Oh, goodness. I get told I'm going to hell 8 bazillion times a week because of that book.
Really?
Yes. But
is it the more that stuff has like come in and people have said stuff, you kind of like numb to it a little bit? Whereas maybe at the beginning when people would say things, you'd kind of maybe take it on board a little bit? Or have you always just been like, it doesn't matter what people say?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. Several years before that, I've been writing for a minute now, but mostly for publications around the world. And one of the first things I wrote for the Huffington Post, I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
Was a little bit about an experience that I had at the Christian university that I went to. And I remember looking at some of the comments, and I remember my partner saying, oh, no, you never read them. Don't ever read the comments, right? Because that's going to bring you down just because, you have all these, like, they're anonymous.
Yeah.
Anonymous haters, just move on. So I basically stopped reading and just thought, I just wrote and I never read a comment again. But I did have to peek when I saw this like popping up on these conservative sites because I thought, oh my gosh, right? And I did read them, and a little part of me feels sad, but not for me, for them. That hate in their heart, that just saddens me.
Yeah.
They really believe that they're carrying something, some kind of important message, but I know that God is love, and that's not a godly message, and it's just really saddens me.
Yeah.
How many people have been turned away, right, because of how closed and just plain mean people are.
Yeah.
And so it saddens me for them, which probably would blow their mind, but also really warms my heart for the people that it does touch.
Yeah. I think that's really powerful and quite important because we feel the same way with our podcast. Like sometimes you'll get a comment or something will happen and you're like, oh my God, are we doing the right thing? Like,
yeah, we've been dragged a few times.
Yeah.
And when the comments come in, I think you're quite good at not listening to them and kind of maybe a similar mindset to you, I'd say. But I maybe take it on a little bit more and I'm internal about it. I'm like, should we be doing this? Like, if all these people say, do you know what I mean? So yeah, there's definitely.
I think it's okay because, in a sense, it's striking a nerve. And if your intentions are good, I'm all about intentions with everything you do, right? If you have set out with the best of intentions, it's okay even if you set somebody's hair on fire once in a blue moon because you weren't trying to harm and to hurt, And so I say, if you're getting the comments, it's always a sign. It's like Dolly Parton says, no press or no publicity is bad publicity. And, everything Dolly Parton says is pretty much gospel.
Yeah. We love Dolly. I think that's so interesting. I will say that about intention, though, because I always say, look at the intent. But have you had, or I'm assuming you obviously have, but like the phrase, the road to hell is built on good intentions, right?
It's paved on good intentions. Yes.
What does that like mean then? Like,
I'm going to tell you the truth about here. I've said that twice now today. I guess I'm really speaking truth today.
Yeah.
I just sort of push everything aside. I've gotten to the point in my life where whatever people say is the best and the right way to do something, I don't really care. it doesn't really matter to me because it doesn't have to apply to me.
Okay.
Right. So I'll just go to my writing, for example. People tell you have to do X, you have to do Y, you have to do Z to write a book. I didn't follow anything in any of my books. I just said, I'm going to tell the stories that I want to tell in the way I want to tell them and just the flow that I want to do it. Right. And so I think people come up with these things. They tell you how you're supposed to live and what you're supposed to do. Push it all to the side. Go with what's in your heart.
And that's
yes,
the way to do
it. And trust, you know.
Okay, well, I guess this is a good segue. Well, I want to talk about a little bit more dating stories.
Absolutely.
And
styles. And I wore this dress for you, my moo dress.
Oh,
so
I
have
love
to talk
it.
about that.
Yeah,
we talk about the intentions of our community.
Yeah, why are you dressed like
towards
a cow?
each other. So yes. So I haven't worn this dress for a hot minute, but I was had all these wonderful intentions to lose a ton of weight before I came here, and I didn't, and I gained weight, and you know, I embrace my body in all sizes. I've been fat, I've been skinny, and I'm gorgeous in every size.
Yes,
and I said, I am coming here as a heifer. I'm going to wear this dress, and I'm going to move proudly.
You look amazing.
You know, thank you very much.
Move proudly.
You know, we have to do a much better job in our community of accepting, and not just accepting, but loving all body types. And you'll see on my pages, of course, I post pictures of these gorgeously hot men, but gorgeously hot comes in a lot of flavors.
Yes.
You know, and so why be down on the way you look? You know, I'm telling you, I'm really the truth. I have been like thin as a rail. I've been athletic, and I've been a big cow. And I'm the same amazing person at every size.
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't like that, that's on them. Has nothing to do with me. You know.
What was the reason you were trying to lose weight? Is it like a health thing or?
Oh yeah. I'm trying to get a little bit healthier,
Okay.
and I thought, you know, plus I want to fit into everything that I have because I'm one of those people who some of the dresses I had made, I'm like, whose body did I have to save? You know, like some aspirational thing, and I need to put it on at some point. But yeah, I wanted to lose weight just to be a little healthier because you know, I want to be around for a long time, driving people crazy.
Yeah. I mean, great. I think that gets missed a lot as well. The health aspect of it, I think.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I was watching this show. We don't get a lot of British TV, and I'm obsessed with British reality TV. I'm obsessed with British TV, actually. I'm obsessed with everything British. But I was just watching this. I Kissed a Boy.
Oh my god! Yeah.
And I just loved it.
Yeah.
And I love that they were just such like a mix of people. And I'd like to see even more diversity.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have a show like that in the United States. And I said, oh, just how lovely, you know. And it is like, is it Love Island? I love Love Island UK. I hate the US one, but I love the UK.
The thing with the US one is there's a common thing with Love Island in the UK where typically the black girls are kind of pushed to the side, and it's horrible to see every single season. The American Love Island is the complete opposite, and it's so interesting to see
in comparison to the UK one.
The way that black girls are treated on the US one compared to the UK one.
This will be interesting to get into because really there's a lot of differences, I think, in the way race is kind of handled between the US and the UK.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's going to come up in a few minutes anyway. but yes, I'll just leave it at that for now.
But I Kissed a Boy is lovely. And I think when we spoke, did you see the episode? Maybe not. Anyway, there was an episode with I Kissed a Boy people from season 2.
Yep.
And we watched it from season 1, and we had Dan from season 1 as well. They all say the same thing. It was a very positive experience in the sense of bringing out their comfort zones, their knowledge, and the way they navigate the gay world. But also, purposely, not like the BBC didn't want a Love Island show. They didn't want that. They wanted
looking off at each
and
other
like
all
the way
time.
they look is very like the way people look. It doesn't have to be a very.
And I
thick
love that. I love that.
Yeah.
It was one of the things that really stood out to me. I thought, oh, these are actually regular people.
Yeah.
You know, and we don't normally do that for anything, straight or gay. We have to have like the most perfect on the outside look.
Yeah. We should definitely watch I Kissed a Girl as well.
I Kissed a Girl.
Oh, yeah.
So good. They alternate it each year.
Okay, I'm going to check that out.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
do season 1 because season 2's coming out soon as well.
Yeah,
I'm all
they're
for
filming right now, I think, for season 2 as well. So.
And I'm very excited for that.
Yeah. I'm all for it.
Right.
All right.
The controversy.
Yes, let's begin.
Okay. I haven't read this.
That's totally fine.
Give us a little bit of background on this one first.
All right, let me just tell you the whole thing because
I'm
I'm actually writing a collection.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what happened with Jesus Juice that led to the collection. Okay,
Go for it.
So I was lying in bed one night. This is absolutely what happened. I sometimes I get terrible sleep anxiety, and I could not sleep, and it was getting me so stressed.
Okay.
And there's a song from The Color Purple saying, if you can't sleep at night and you wonder why, maybe God is trying to tell you something. And I said, God, because that song was in my head, and I was like so stressed because I had something big the next day, and it was like 2 a.m, and I was like, oh, right. And then I said, well, God, what are you trying to tell me? And within 5 minutes, I knew the title of Jeza's Jesus Juice, and I had every chapter in my head and what the format would be. And I was like, God was really trying to tell me something. And I wrote that book so quick, and it found a publisher in a blink. I couldn't even believe it.
That's cool.
This was just meant to happen, right?
Yeah.
And so after that, as soon as I finished it, before it was even on its way to being published, I said, I really want to write a collection of LGBTQ IA+ historical fiction novels that kind of show we've been here forever and we're going to be here forever, right? And so I wanted to highlight that in cases where we've kind of been ignored or overlooked, but we have to have been there. And so I said I'd do 4, though now maybe I'll do more. And this was the first book, Blood Rouge. It took place in 1930s Berlin. And it is about a gender fluid young man who is horribly sexually assaulted and runs away from home and winds up becoming a doll at the last cabaret in Berlin, falls in love, and then they're both carted off to Dachau. And when they get there, the rapist is his Nazi guard. And so it's really intense.
Jewish.
No, it's not. This is not. He's a German boy.
Okay.
It's pretty intense. It's a real tearjerker.
Okay.
And I just love the book, and I cry every time I read. This is crazy because every time I've read this book, I have to have read it several times, and every time I cry at the end, that I'm like, I wrote this book. Why am I crying? But I'm just so moved by it, and it's won a whole bunch of awards, and it was selected recently. The Historical Novel Society, which has reviewed like 20,000-30,000 books, they once in a very blue moon pick a book as editor's choice, and it's rare, and my book was picked as editor's choice for the
Congratulations, that's amazing.
I was really excited about it. It's got tons of great reviews and won a whole bunch of awards, and was the first one.
Yeah.
And interestingly, Jeza's Jesus Juice, tons of hate in the United States. Blood Rouge, nobody hated me in the United States. I got a whole bunch of UK hate over this book. People telling me that, we need to be pushed into the ovens, gay people, because this is about a gender fluid young man. And people would write me and say, well, Trump's coming back to power because it came out right before him, and he's going to take care of you all. And this came from the UK, and I said to myself, oh my gosh, I'm totally shocked.
Yeah.
But I will say this is totally, really cracks me up, right? As tough as people believe that the British are, anytime they write me something hateful here, it is so nice compared to American
What do you mean?
hate. Because Americans, they will rip you, and they just don't hold back.
They go
we just go for the jugular. They'll write me some hate. If they say they're pushing us in the ovens, they'll be like, and by the way, I'm so sorry. And, here's a gift card to Harrods. You know what I mean? They're like, they're just super polite about their tell-offs.
Polite about our hatefulness.
Yeah, which I find, I just find that hysterical, because I'm like, this is so
very British, actually.
Yeah. Sorry to say, but you deserve to burn in hell. Like,
right, exactly. Like, my apologies, but I really, hate you. Okay. Can I send you flowers? But Americans won't. They'll be like, I'll see you at 12.
Right. Okay. So this is what I've been waiting to talk to you about. So this is part of the Presents collection called The Freedom to Love.
Yes. This was a great big passion project of mine. The Freedom to Love is about a young white plantation owner. He inherits the plantation, who falls in love with his childhood friend, who happens to be his black slave.
Okay.
And it's the chaos that ensues because of that relationship.
And that is outrageous.
Completely.
Even you saying it, I'm like, oh my God, this is actually
it's
outrageous.
Completely outrageous. And one of the reasons it's outrageous is now in the United States, we have heard a zillion stories of white plantation owners, white slave owners, who had relations, sometimes had relationships, whatever those they might look like,
Right.
with Black women, with African American women.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of this happening with men.
Okay.
And so part of why this book came to be is because I've never heard that story before. And you can't tell me that a white man and a Black man did not hook up in some way under whatever power dynamic was fucked up but existed. I'm sure that there was some sort of sexual relations. Now, whether or not there was a romantic a relationship is questionable,
Mm-hmm.
but here's the book, right?
Yeah.
And it also was born out of the fact that I am married to, or been with, my partner is a Black man for 16 years. And I thought about, well, we all think about what would happen. What would we do? The World War II one.
Mm-hmm.
What would we do if they were coming for Jews and you were friends with one? Would you hide them in your attic? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. What would you do during slavery?
Yeah.
And I thought, what in the hell would we do if we were in 1860s or 1850s in the South? Where would our relationship be?
Mm.
How in the world would that have happened, if it could have happened?
Yeah.
Very doubtfully could it have happened. So this book does have a dash of magic, or whatever you want to call it, romance, to make it come to light. But it would have been a very, very fraught. So I wanted to bring out a lot of those emotions, but still show what a journey could look like, although it's highly, highly, highly unlikely. Not just because they were Black and white, but specifically because they were two men.
Yeah. There's two sections.
There's a couple of different.
But I wonder, like, so me reading it, and I'll give like an opinion or a summary like at the end, because I actually want to find out more about the thought process behind the writing of it. What kind of like things, like, you're obviously aware of positionality, like you're a white man writing about something from predominantly a white perspective, right? It's not first person, but we tend to
third person. And I get into the character of each one. So third person limited. We see it through the eyes of a small handful of characters.
Yeah. So I know Arthur's the main character, who's
Samson. Arthur's the white plantation inheritor, and Samson the slave.
Yeah. So what kind of things did you do, like research wise, or to make sure that it was sensitive to the topics that you're tackling?
Yes. Well, first of all, I did a ton of research. I really do that for all of my books, because I think it's important to kind of ground where you're going into someplace in history. You have to put yourself there and what really happened in order to make it a real book. But it's a great question. Right from the get-go, I thought, of course, I'm a white man writing about these Black characters, right, who have been through all kinds of trauma and tragedy that exists in our country still today. So it was very important for me I have an African-American editor, first of all. It was important to get that perspective so that somebody could tell me, no, this is crazy. This sucks, right? Had a Black gay male sensitivity reader to also give me perspective. And then they farmed it out to other people.
Oh, they did?
Yeah,
okay.
to get other points of view and see what people, what they were thinking. Really tried to inhabit these characters. I have a deep love and passion for these characters, even the sub characters, the lower characters in here. And the response to the book has been, I would say, mostly positive. But of course, it does have a tinge of controversy in it for that reason. What's fascinating is that any African American, or let's say on this side of the pond, a Black person who would read it, I've gotten very strong positive feedback from it. I've had a lot of, unexpectedly, white people tend to flip out over it and clutch their pearls, I say, over it. But the Black people who have read it tell me, like, damn, like you went there to someplace that nobody's gone there before. And did it with the right touch. So I really tried to be quite mindful about what I was doing, and yet portraying how people would speak and what they would do in the time, in the era. So it's not, I didn't desensitize it, but also I made sure to hear what other people had to say, so I didn't just go in and have this like Karen moment. Like here's right, like here, here I come. Let me tell you, Black people, how how it would have felt if this happened. I didn't wanted to make sure not to do that. It's very important to me.
Are you still open to feedback?
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely.
Because I'm gonna get into it. No, just kidding. I was just
now you're gonna read me.
No, I was just thinking also, like, why did you choose to do? I know you touched on like history, and a lot of your things are history, but they're all quite like controversial, and they obviously will touch certain people whose family members are more linked and more close to those traumas that you're touching. How do you stop it from being like trauma porn or like that kind of thing?
This has come up before in that on my life, I put my hand on the Bible. I've never sat down and said, let me write something controversial or that's going to make people crazy. I've never done that. I write about things that I really have a passion and think, gosh, I'd really love to hear that story. I've never heard that story. What would happen, right? Or what I think some of the best of humanity comes out of our most traumatic experiences. So yeah, I could write about, I'm writing something on the side, very light, and it's fun, but does it change the world? And I'm interested in really touching hearts and having people reflect and kind of dig into themselves, right? And think about, how did we get here in many different ways? And how do we not go back to places that we've been before?
Yeah.
Because let's face it, humanity is horrible and awful to humanity. And each of my books kind of show that. And some of that was not even conscious. It just was like,
just happens.
Yeah, just kind of
keeps repeating itself.
Yeah, it just happened. And it's like, so yeah.
But why slavery? Why not like going to like the 1980s or like still showing that difficulty, but maybe something closer to this time where you could potentially get the actual experiences of the Black people? Was there a reason that it was the slavery?
Yes,
Go on.
It was, because I've never heard that before. I've heard about the 80s.
Okay.
I've heard people go through I actually live that experience in my own relationship, which we could talk about if you want. Right? That's contemporary.
Yeah.
But this whole collection is meant to showcase that even in that dark era, even in an era that we would never think two men getting together in that.
Yeah.
Yet still, they were together. I'm certain, you can't tell me, I'm sure there was somebody hid as the slave, right? And there was a power, I'm not denying there would be an awful dynamic of power, right? That somebody was the slave to the white man. And I can guarantee you they were lovers. There was something happening there, but nobody's ever pulled that back.
Yeah.
They pulled it back for men and women, but they've never done it for men. That's really why I wanted to go to there, to go to that time. I could have done contemporary and I could have heard from people.
Yeah.
But I live that every day.
Yeah. Or you live with someone who lives every day.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I mean. But I live that relationship every day.
Yeah.
Right? I live the relationship of watching every day now the power dynamic that exists, how different our day-to-day life is. And so there's a root in our country that starts with this, right?
Yeah.
Slavery was our whole country was built on the back of slaves, right? And so for us, this is a foundational issue. Black people in our country were not even considered full human beings. They were 3/5 human, and that was enshrined in our Constitution, right? So it gets to the heart of really who we are in many ways. And I wanted to go to the heart and not be afraid to go there.
And what about the part? I mean, there's obviously some real nice moments,
sure,
but there's some real like tragedies and some real like trauma. And from the get go, I was like, shit, like what am I reading? And I really was almost on the defensive when I first started reading it, because I was like, whoa, like this really. And I talk about this a lot with Josh as well. It's like the way the media portray things that are happening right now in Palestine, for example, feels trauma porn. It feels like we don't need to necessarily see those things sometimes, that we can just hear about it. Did you ever consider like maybe more, I'll talk about the example is like, there's an example of, sexual assault. There's quite an aggressive way of, I don't know how to describe it without being too much, but there's a thing that happens at the beginning where someone gets, hurt. And to me, I'm like, could that have been done more ethically, or could that have been done better? And there's certain parts in there where it's through Arthur's perspective, very white centric. Like, how did you stop it from being romanticized? How did you stop it from being, quieting? So the balance is showing the oppression of Black people and their experiences, or are we more just feeling Arthur's story of like how he feels guilty and how
almost
he
like
feels
a redemption,
looking like, oh, this, I feel bad for Arthur. He's seeing all these things, and there's a lot of white savior moments in there. I don't know if that was on purpose or
absolutely on purpose.
Okay,
yes.
okay, fair.
White savior was threaded through this on purpose.
Okay,
and again, it's two different experiences in a sense: the American experience, and the non-American. I'm just going to leave it as broad as that when it comes to race between African Americans or African Black people in our country, Caribbean Black. White savior is at the heart of this because that exists, and white people in our country we have tons of conversations about race here back in America, but we need to have more of them, and we need to have them between white people too, not just so. Part of that book and the reason why some of those tough scenes are in there is for them too, because in order to affect change, we need people talking to people who don't necessarily always talk about it
and don't go out, I guess, to find it themselves.
Yeah, and to do some educating and oh shit, damn, we were horrible to people. Holy fuck. No wonder why there's still so many issues that exist, because we can't really change anything if we don't know what it is that led us here. Right?
Yeah.
And so I believe strongly that we need to have more of these conversations about issues about race. Now, we talk about race a lot in the United States. It's kind of baked into the core. When I come here to this country, it's almost like it's a taboo subject. It's like another world. And what I mean by that is people will dance around and skirt around it until they're drunk. Then when they're drunk, they will say the wildest, most inappropriate things. That's been my experience, right? And so in the United States, people will talk about race. So this wouldn't be as shocking, maybe. To some, it might be to some people. But shocking is not bad if it gets us to kind of take a hold a mirror up and shine a light on things and think. We have so much imbalance in the United States because of our original sin. And for many people, it's kind of like, move on, get over it already. But you can't get over it. And so when we talk about my partner living it every day and my being part of that relationship, I watch it every day. And it's subtle. And sometimes it's not so subtle. But those differences still exist. And so white saviorism is a real thing in our country, and people think, well, I'm going to come in and save. And so there was part of
the bidding part specifically. I saw that, and I was like, interesting that was in there. Right. Obviously, it's on purpose, but I wasn't sure if you were trying to make Arthur that savior. Like, oh, Arthur's so nice. Like,
no. I did want him to look like he thinks he's the savior.
Exactly, and I think that did transpire. Just not in the first bit that we got into, but.
He's a flawed character. He botches things many times over. At his heart, and at the heart of this is a love story, which makes it sort of weird in a way. Because, like, how in the world do you have a love story with something like this? Right? And so to make it move and still flow, you got to go back to that love. But they're very deeply flawed. And he is specifically, even though he's the protagonist, he's deeply flawed.
What did you think? I want to get your perspective as well.
I would say, I think the relationship between the two, I think, would have happened for sure in some way or another. Slave and slave master, like at some point in somewhere in America, I'm very, very sure that would have happened. I think when I was reading it, there was certain moments where I did feel a little bit uncomfortable. And I think the thing that my mind kept coming back to was like it coming from a white author and maybe the Black voices kind of what you were saying before, like kind of being maybe like pushed to the side a little bit. But then I guess on the flip side of that, if this book is meant for like a white audience to read it and maybe like rethink some of their like opinions or maybe look into history, like I do kind of see that. But I guess similar to you, maybe there were certain sections that I thought maybe romanticized.
And then you brought up that good topic of like, what does it feed into that whole sex play as well. There's that.
Yeah,
that
'cause obviously
trouble.
That was meant to go there too. Yes, that was
Okay,
on, that was on
yeah.
purpose. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Because race play is such like an interesting thing, and I think like I've seen a couple of things online about it, but it's very like taboo to talk about, and I wonder if certain people reading it would kind of be like, I don't know, like aroused by it, or a bit like, do you know what I mean? Where it's like that dynamic, and could that play out in modern day today?
Yeah.
Anything could play out in modern day today, especially when it comes to sex. But I did want to shine a light on that because there is a fetishism that goes around about black men, especially, and white men that want to sleep with them.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's meant to bring all those. It's got a lot of layers to that book, really. And the more you kind of peel it back, the more you're like, oh my gosh, like is that in there too? But it's all purposeful.
Yeah,
it's
And
laid
so-
in there for all of the things that probably
it's,
do.
It's all meant to be baked together, and I did want to I did want to bring that to the surface without just saying that that's come to the surface.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. And I think that does happen, which is why I found it so interesting. Is that at first you're like, like he's a bit of a white savior, and then he does something else, and you're like, oh, okay, like he doesn't realize that he's a white savior. He thinks he's doing what he needs to do. Yeah.
Which
and
is, I think,
American white people think that they're white saviors often.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about white saviorism in my own journey.
Yeah.
Being in a relationship with a black man for 16 years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So a lot of those things live in there because my whole experience has shifted over this time watching my partner's experience.
What have you actually like learned, do you think, from writing this and the feedback, including this like feedback that you're getting? You're still open to it,
of course,
because all the information I imagine you would have learned having to write it.
Exactly.
Like, oh my god, I never thought of
so
this.
what have you learned, and what would you not do next time, or do next time, or whatever? Like, is there any learning curves from this?
Of course, each one of my books has a learning curve, and figure out how to do better and be better. What would I do differently with this? You know, it's very hard to say, because when you're writing a book and you're writing for a publisher versus self-publishing, you have to think about page numbers. You got to think about pacing, right? Because it's got to move at a certain flow. The price of book goes up on how many pages, right? So you have to, it's called kill your darlings, decide where to chop. Where to chop stuff off. So there would be other stuff in there that has hit the floor, been tucked away in other places, maybe to come out in another book at some point. And so you make a creative choice, and you stand by that choice. So I'm proud of the book as is, and I probably would never touch that topic again and move on to something new, because I feel like I shined the light on something that nobody that I know of has been bringing.
I've never heard of a story.
No,
I think that's why we were so interested. We're like, okay.
And I appreciate the criticism or critical feedback. I do, because I think anything you do when you put yourself out there, it's going to have that. Now, it's different when people are reading you or ragging you and they've never read it. And they're just like, how could you?
Yeah.
But I think it's different when somebody's read it and they say, well, damn, this still leaves me with a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because our experience still, I think, in trying to sort out all the bullshit that exists in the world, and a lot in the United States, is having difficult conversations and having imperfection.
Yeah.
I did go to it was very important that my partner was supportive of this. I never would have done this if he wasn't. That was super, super key to me, because I don't walk in those shoes every day, but I walk behind those shoes, and I get to see the footprints and what happens when somebody walks in those shoes. And that, in a lot of ways, is tough, because I can take it off. I don't walk with that skin, but it really can be quite emotionally infuriating to watch what happens to somebody that can dance circles around everybody else, right? But doesn't necessarily get the same treatment or opportunity just because of the way they look. So
we've run out of time. I knew this would take a lot of time, because I loved it so much, and there's so much more to talk about, and I'm going to carry on talking to you afterwards anyway.
Wonderful. We're out of time already?
But before we go, just quickly, you've got a new book.
Yes, and I was going to say, I'm going to pull this out of my ass. And in my life, I've pulled many things, but I have a hope that one day I will pull the very gorgeous British actor James Norton out of my ass. That is my hope.
It will happen.
But you don't want to pull it out of there, do you?
Inside it.
At some point I do. But instead I'm pulling my new book out, which is called Abomination,
Ooh,
the story of David and Jonathan. And this is the story, the bisexual Bible story, tells the tale of David and Jonathan, who was the son of the first king, King Saul. And a lot of people surmise that they were lovers in biblical times. And yeah, I went there too. So expect to get a lot of craziness and hate on this book too. I'm very proud of it. And it just came out, Abomination. I hope everybody gives it a read. I hope they give all my books a read. Yeah. Give it a try. You can give me your feedback too. I love feedback.
Ta-da.
When you read them.
Yeah. So just give an opinion just because you know the title. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. This was amazing. Really thank you for being so open. And we look forward to reading this one.
I know what you wanted. One more book from me. You're probably like, oh,
no,
not enough from her.
No, and I need to read this as well to actually be able to talk about it. But thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Okay.
And my other book that's not here, The Harlot's Guide to Trashy Cocktails, or Classy Cocktails as it was renamed. Delicious drink recipes and drunk drag queens, featuring drag queens on every continent except for Antarctica, and my drink recipes that everybody loves. And so hopefully you'll get to check that one out too.
Yes.
And whip up a few drinks, and then while you're trash, read my other books.
Yeah. Love that. Nice little party. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And thanks everyone for watching, and catch you next time. Bye.